Hey, there you are. Hey, you moved closer to the screen. What's going on?
I did. I thought I'd tighten up the shot a bit.
Okay. Did you
Kind
check?
of a busy background, so I thought I'd put my big melon front and center.
Did you confirm that with production, or was this your own call?
This was my own call. Likely I'll get a call from upstairs after this telling me that that's a union decision and that I don't have the right to make that call.
That's right. Now that you're closer, what's going on? What do you got? Have you got a little something? Got a little script going on there. What is that?
Oh, that's a prison tattoo.
Like you got it in prison?
Pardon?
Got it in prison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I actually have 4 prison tattoos. This one, well, and the 2 on my torso are both written backwards so that I can see them in the mirror and read them each day. This one says, mistakes made through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity, which is very true. If you screw up big, as I did, you're not going to fix that by being timid.
So like that's a long sentence. Does that go like from shoulder to shoulder, or does
it's actually on 2 lines?
Okay, there you go.
And it's a line from a book by a guy named Robert Greene, a book called The 48 Laws of Power. And it's one of those books, it was a New York Times bestseller, but you're hesitant to tell somebody you loved it because it's quite ruthless.
Okay.
Each chapter is a different law of power, and it's meticulously researched. So each chapter goes along with some historical example of somebody who either used this law or didn't to their detriment.
Okay.
So like ruthless corporate ladder climbers would love the book, The 48 Laws of Power. I found it to be kind of disturbing. It's a bit like saying, I loved Machiavelli's The Prince.
Right.
So anyway, but that line certainly did speak to me considering my own circumstance.
So all of your front-facing tattoos are backwards that you can read. Well, the good news is then when you do selfies, because selfies are backwards, when you do selfies, then people would be able to read them, correct?
That would be the case, certainly if I did a selfie without my shirt on, but for the love of humanity, I can't see myself doing that. But when I have one other one on my torso that isn't from prison, my words to live by are, it's not about strength, it's about will. And not so coincidentally, when I lost my own will, it's when my life bottomed out. So when I got that one over my heart written backwards, my older sister said to me, only you would get a tattoo that for only you can read. To which I said, well, I bet it's not that uncommon. I bet a lot of people that are into affirmations, like if you're going to have it on a fridge magnet, I bet a lot of people have that sort of thing. Right. So when I went to my tattooist in Winnipeg, I asked her, I said, so, is this common? And she said, well, I've been doing this for 25 years, and this is the first one.
Yeah.
And I haven't ever encountered anybody else. So thus far, I have failed to make it a trend.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. It's a little bit like, ambulance, right? So when
yes,
you're driving in a car, you see ambulance the right way in the rearview mirror, which of course is only good enough for just the person in front of the ambulance. Every other person doesn't know, allegedly wouldn't know what it is. But that one person must have complained to the authorities and said, officer, I didn't pull over. I didn't know what it was. The lights and the sirens distracted me and I couldn't read it. It was backwards. So now if you sneak up on someone, which you probably won't, they'll be able to read that.
Well, and I think it speaks to vanity if a person were to say, well, so many people read my torso that it would be unfair to them to have it backwards. The reality of my life is very few people read my torso.
Well, that's going to be a Steve quote, right?
Yes.
That's got to be a Steve quote.
Steve, was he the guy that very few people read his torso? Is that guy? Yeah. Okay, sure.
I guess there's a lot. I mean, when you have that much, there's a lot of spell check going on. I mean, you got to be really sure, right? And especially
because the guy in prison who did this was a heavy heroin user who was on a serious methadone plan. But it's put on with a stencil, in that you print it on a piece of paper from our one computer, from a Word program. Then you put it against the skin and use deodorant.
Get your deodorant. Now you're going to take your stencil and apply it. Now take your stencil off.
And go back and forth and back and forth, and it transfers onto the skin. So there was no chance that he could screw up the spelling, but if you were to look closely, he really botched up a G, and it looks more like a Q.
But again, it's the other way around, and you're seldom shirtless with a mirror, so everything's fine.
Yes.
At least he didn't get it in like Chinese characters. I always like people that get Chinese characters, because like North American people, because we don't know what it says. You can say it means courage and bravery. It might just say, would you like fries with that? Like you have no idea, right?
I actually worked with a guy in China, that a white guy from Oklahoma, who got a tattoo, and I forget what his was supposed to say, something like honor. And I don't know, maybe these guys in the office were having him on, but they said it said kitchen.
Well, you never, I mean, I bet you someone in the world got one that said kitchen, so maybe you had an online date, is that correct? And you had an interesting idea, I think, for swiping left and right.
I did have an online video date.
Right.
Very modern of me. Certainly a lovely woman, but no future there. But yeah, I don't know anybody who says, oh no, ghosting, whether I do it or whether I get ghosted, I love that. I think everybody hates it. So we don't know how to end an online dating association.
Right. When you don't want to talk to the person anymore.
Pardon?
Like there's no fireworks, there's no sparks, you would just as soon not communicate anymore.
Yeah. So we tend to ghost people because we don't know what to say. So my thinking is these dating apps, they should have what would eventually become a universally recognized icon. The best of luck, see you later, we're done icon. So we might say, oh yeah, she was really nice, but I got the emoji.
Right.
You got the best of luck emoji? Oh, it would be there, and it'd be a one-touch thing. Then we know, no, it's not because I take 3 days to return my messages. Don't think that I am really interested. I'm just busy. No, I don't want to hear from you anymore. I'm not interested, and I don't really want to say that. So I send you this emoji, and I go, okay, I've been emojied. Delete.
I'm moving in another direction. Thank you for
Yeah, exactly. You don't fit in with the future plans of this company. Well, and I'm not looking to start anything here. But
oh boy.
There are many different approaches to dating. Common wisdom is you're not supposed to ever double message someone in online dating. Like you send them a message, and if you haven't heard back, you're not supposed to message again. Except, and I have to only attach this to female behavior because I haven't dated men. We might do the same thing, but it has been my experience that not all women subscribe to that. And in fact, some will tell you, I like to be pursued. One woman I chatted with said effort is sexy. So you might follow up with her and she's like, okay, this guy's serious. He followed up. The next woman, you follow up and she goes, can't this guy take a hint? I haven't replied to him in 3 days. Well, I thought you were like your friend who wanted me to follow up.
Well, then now, yeah, now you're getting into what women are thinking, and that's we don't have enough hours, enough Zoom minutes in the year to do that.
Yes, and nor are we are reckless, but not so stupid as to really go down that road.
Or try to figure, or think that we could even figure it out. You know, it's funny, but I think in the old days when you date someone, you'd have to, drum up enough money if you want to take her to the keg or whatever and get a car, and it might cost you $50, then they blow you off. The good news now, online dating, you can have a 10-minute little online thing and you can decide it's not working, and then you didn't spend any money. I know my 24-year-old a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago, his kind of first girlfriend, we didn't know he had a girlfriend, and then he was really sad one day. I think he was 18 or 19, and we said, what's the matter? He said, I broke up with my girlfriend. And I said, I didn't know you had a girlfriend. And he goes, yeah, we'd been dating for a couple of months. I said, like just online? He goes, yeah, online. I never really met her. And I went, well, and my first line, and I wasn't trying to be like an asshole dad. I said, well, that makes it easier, and he took that as insensitive. And I went, well, no, I'm just saying, if you've never met her in person, it makes it a little easier to break up and not be heartbroken. And he kind of was offended that I said that. I went, oh, sorry, I didn't want to stomp all over your emotions. It just seems to me that if you've never actually met someone, it's a little easier to break up with them, right?
And is that playing fast and loose with the term girlfriend?
In this day and age, I don't think so.
Oh, because in our day and age,
right,
usually, once you close the deal in terms of intimacy, then someone's your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to specify who this young person is in my life, but he was very disappointed when this girl broke up with him. But then his mother said, I don't know what the hell he's so broken up about. They never even slept together. Right. His mom said that.
Right.
And I thought, well, yeah, why? What? Like, okay, maybe if a friend broke up with you, you might be a bit, but that's what that woman, in my narrow aging view, right, she was a friend of his.
No, I think
not a girlfriend.
My two kids now are 24 and 20, and I think I'd have to check with them. I think you can be an item for quite a while, and just have met online, or maybe even met once or twice in person. But most of your relationship was online. Put it this way, I'm sure after a couple of months, someone's showing them their torso tattoos, and I think that's probably a sign that maybe you're dating. What do you think?
in these relationships, are they both faithful? Like, do they not have sex with other people, even though they're not having sex with this person?
I was just gonna say, I don't know. You know what? I mean, like my situation. We have foster kids, so I'm a little old to have 20 and 24-year-olds. Plus, I just don't understand them. I mean, so that's a great question. Maybe one of our listeners or viewers could answer that question. I don't know what the rules are. There probably are unwritten rules. I don't know them. I'm not concerned about them. Anyway, you had an online thing. It went okay, but there's no spark, so we will
no spark. And I or she might have benefited from the one touch emoji, because the other thing is, depending on somebody how they receive your. Let's imagine you write a nice little note. It was so lovely to chat with you. However, I don't see a future for us. I wish you all the best. That person could go, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Or they go, get over yourself, you frickin' a-hole. I was going to dump you anyway. Where do you get off telling me, oh, I don't see us having a future? So the emoji, one touch, that could mean whatever it means to them.
I like it.
Well, that was polite. They at least closed the loop, so I'm not expecting another call or message from them.
It's not Pavlovian. If your phone buzzes, you go, oh, might be her. It's like,
right.
We're done. All right. I'm glad it went okay for you. Before we talk about tipping, I just want
there's been a busy week.
Well, with the eclipse and with OJ Simpson just passing away.
Yes.
From what I understand, he never did His last words were, "I never found the real killers." So unfortunately,
That's a joke, right? Those weren't really his last words.
no, but someone,
His life's purpose unfulfilled. How very tragic. Because
someone,
I know how much that meant to OJ to find the real killer.
someone said he was surrounded by friends and family that he didn't kill when he died. So it's like, that's a, I mean, I think,
Oh, he went too soon.
yeah, it's a little bit like when someone when Rush Limbaugh died, right? Rush Limbaugh was this huge right-wing media asshole, and when he died, nobody talks about it anymore. Like nobody misses him because he was a horrible person. And it'll be the same with OJ, right? Like now that no one's gonna go like a year from now, man, I really miss that guy. Like nobody will. I don't want to generally speak ill of the dead, but nobody's gonna go, man, I wish I could run that past OJ, or I wonder if he was here now, boy, he'd be a good guy to talk to. Like nobody.
Or I'm looking forward to the movie coming out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him in heaven.
Yeah, because he's not getting a movie.
Oh, you don't think so?
Well, no, I shouldn't say it. I mean, Napoleon got one, and I sat through all 3 hours of that thinking the whole time,
What a terrible
this
movie.
guy was a dick. He was an asshole. Why did he get a movie?
Did you? I watched. I thought that movie would not. I just thought that movie was horrible. But when I'm an hour into it, I can't. We have a mutual friend, Tom Milroy.
Yes.
That's 3 hours I'll never get back. Once I start, especially if I'm at the gym and I'm on a treadmill and I want to, like, I had to watch the end of it thinking there's got to be something that happens. It was Ridley Scott who did Gladiator, which was great. And you're right. Not only was Napoleon an unredeeming person, nothing really happened in that movie. It was just 3 hours of nothing.
Yes, except for extremely graphic violence.
Sure, yeah, and I don't mind that.
Well, see, and I'm like early in the movie, a horse gets hit with a cannonball. So I'm like, okay, fuck you guys. Then I'm not liking this movie, even if you guys talk about me in favorable terms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
I found it seemed like they went, okay, we don't have much of a story here, and the Napoleon character isn't very compelling. But if our violence is really extreme and vivid, maybe people will take that away.
Well, it certainly was. Gladiator was certainly very graphic as well, but it was a great movie. So
yes, great story.
And then so he's dead. Check that one off. The Eclipse. I didn't care. I saw it in '79. I was in high school at Westgate in Winnipeg. I remember seeing it. We all got some of my kids now who watched a bit of it here in Manitoba. They got glasses from wherever. They said, "Where did you get glasses when you were a kid?" And when I was a kid in '79, KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, had free glasses in their buckets of chicken.
Really?
Yeah. So of course, once you pull them out, you had to wipe the grease off of them because you couldn't see anything. But so we were all wearing KFC glasses, and so we saw the total eclipse in 1979. But the reason I bring it up is because now that's become a conspiracy theorist for some of the really crazies. And I don't know if you saw Theo Fleury, who's gone completely nuts. I'll play a clip of him.
Yes, I've seen the clip where he felt that he had an extra spring in his step after he looked at a 5-minute event for an hour and a half.
Like, how do we get to that point where the media is fear mongering an eclipse?
Well, I stared at it for about, I don't know, an hour and a half. And guess what? I feel amazing today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can still see, I'm not blind. I kind of feel like I've had a little bit of a rebirth from yesterday. I got
vitamin D. It was free, organic vitamin D.
Yeah. I got a little more jump in my step today, and I have a little more hope, and, so, yeah.
I know which clips he was watching. How do you watch an eclipse for an hour and a half?
Yeah, I don't know either. But obviously, the longer you watch, the better you'll feel the next day. That's just science.
And who was in this clip? It talked about the government was pushing some kind of conspiracy. No, they weren't. No, the government didn't even mention the eclipse. It's just a scientific thing. It was no government plot to do. Put it this way: if Trudeau or Biden or whoever you don't like could somehow cause an eclipse, I would totally vote. If they had that much power, I would totally vote for them. I'd be
Well, if you can cause an eclipse, you can tax the rich then. So
but I'd be
well
scared.
done by you.
I'd be scared not to vote for them. If they can do that, what they can do?
Yeah.
Laser me
Yeah.
standing, right?
Like, what if that's just the bottom of their powers?
Yeah, well, that's
Right? Okay, I'm sending an asteroid towards Earth.
Pretty good. Well, that's
Yeah.
too bad because I think Fleury, maybe you know more about this. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. Should be, sports wise, hockey wise, unbelievable hockey player. No question, Team Canada, all the stuff he did. But
Yeah.
man, you're that crazy. That has to seep in. Were you ever one of those guys that voted for no, you wouldn't be a Hall of Fame guy. Did you ever vote for like all-stars in the NHL and stuff? Did you ever get that kind of cred? No.
No, that typically is reserved for reporters who cover the NHL exclusively and travel with teams and so forth.
But that's one of those like kind of almost the Pete Rose thing where you go like he's good enough, but subconsciously people are going, I don't know if I can put that crazy, batshit crazy guy in the Hall of Fame, right?
And I would have put him in there just because when you can achieve what he did at 5'5" and 155 pounds, all that more extraordinary. And this certainly isn't any nicer to say. I'm not sure in that clip, it wasn't that he came across as crazy to me so much as he came across as maybe he's not that bright.
I mean, he's so far. He and Jamie Saleh are like the old Saleh and the figure skater. They're both so now that, like you said, they're searching for some kind of relevance. And so it's whatever the next thing is. If it's not 15-minute cities or digital currency or the vaccine, I sat on the plane with a woman. This was from Edmonton to Abbotsford. 70-ish-year-old woman, middle class. I'm not really a talker, but she was actually reading a book that I had read. So I said, oh, do you like that book? And she literally said something to the effect, yeah, it's not bad. Where are you from? I said, Manitoba. Well, the government's just funding all the immigrants. I mean, it was that kind of a segue that went right into, and I kind of looked at her and I thought, okay, I've got to spend the next hour with her right in steerage. We had no leg room, right? And do I even bring it up? And then I went, okay, that's interesting. And then it went into vaccine and convoy, and she had all the touchstones in about 5 minutes. And then I did this thing. I just did this one. I went, I gotta just watch my movie. And I just sort of, if I would have had your button, I would have emojied her right there.
Yes, yeah. It was nice getting to know you, but we don't have a future.
You don't fit into my plans for the next 45 minutes. That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, almost every day I add something to my list that should be taught in high school. Oh. And logic has been added to that list by me, especially, and I hope I won't sound elitist when I say this, but when people go on to post-secondary education, they are forced to write essays where they have to support what they say with examples, facts, data, logic. But if people don't go on to post-secondary and they're not taught logic in high school, we have these two basic kinds of reasoning, emotional reasoning and logical reasoning. And emotional reasoning is when we believe something because we like the emotional reaction it creates. Like people who believe the earth is 6,000 years old. Well, there's buildings in Turkey almost twice as old as that. No, there aren't. Right. Yes, that's science. That's your science. That's emotional reasoning. I think I've told you about the woman I worked with who insisted Trudeau created COVID to make Canada a communist country.
That checks.
Well, you can't find logic to support that. So people used to be embarrassed by their lack of logic when they said stupid things like that, because the logical reasoners would shout them down and humiliate them as God intended. But now they're not afraid to share these things. So more and more we have people saying things that they don't have to support. They believe them for an emotional reason, And that's good enough. When you say, well, why do you believe that? I just do. 3 of the most dreaded words in the English language. So you don't have a reason. There's nothing behind this. Well, I did see a thing on Facebook. Oh, and that's called, by the way, the new buzz term for that is confirmation bias.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So we could stop a lot of people who say stupid things about the eclipse by teaching them in high school to at least recognize when they're saying something they can't support. Like this woman, Sunny Hostin, I think is her name. She's a person on The View, the talk show where everybody talks over each other.
Yeah.
And she said about the eclipse that the eclipse could be another indication of climate change.
Right. Sure.
No, it can't.
Yeah, scientifically.
Like, show me where some Harvard-educated scientist has said, oh, yes, absolutely. Climate change on Earth is changing the path of both Earth and the moon.
Yeah, I know.
Like, why did you say that if you don't have stuff in your back pocket to back it up?
And that's your confirmation bias or your echo chamber, right? And that's the thing with social media. If you spend all your time, like this weekend, if you spend all your time on one of the borders screaming at people because Trudeau raised the carbon tax, that was you and your ilk having the best time, and you haven't seen them since the convoy, and you want to get together again, and you want to have some like a confirmation that there are other people as crazy as you. So yeah, I couldn't agree 100%. But that when you sent me that picture of that woman from The View, like that's the American one. That's not the Canadian one where they talk over each other. That's the American one where they talk over.
Oh, I didn't know there were 2.
I think the Canadian one is called The Social, right?
I detest The View so much because I can't stand all that talking. So I can't say that I have ever checked out The Social.
I'm not
or
sure.
Social.
I don't watch those either. All right, I think we've got all that out of the way. Do we have time to get? Do we have time to get into tipping?
I think we do, but I want to share one more example of, and there's no better example of emotional reasoning versus logical than Donald Trump and his supporters. How they just say stuff and never back it up. So this week, some now former friend of mine on Facebook put on there Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Barack Obama have all committed the same crimes as Trump is accused of. Well, one, Hillary Clinton was never the president, so she certainly didn't take documents home that she had access to while being president. But I very rarely, the stupider the comment, the less I am inclined to comment on it. But I found that so incendiary. I put on there, why did you publish this accusation? Why didn't you just publish the proof, the examples of this? Well, because there are no examples of it. But more alarming is this person who posted it probably doesn't think that's necessary. Well, no, I just throw shit out there and I might be right. Some of it might stick. And then I'm one of the smart people. And I never get busted by being an idiot because there's too many of us. There's nobody out there that has time to go through this and then expose us and say, here's what David put on Facebook and here's the proof that he's just a frickin' moron.
Right.
Nobody's afraid to be stupid anymore.
And you're right. That's the shamelessness that comes from Donald Trump. There's no question that it was always there. He's now made it, just like racism and all the other stuff he does, misogyny. It's always been there. He's now made it okay to do that. And yeah, you see it in my feed, my algorithm. You see it 100 times a day. What's better now? What's so bad about your life now versus 4 years ago? Everything. Name one thing. Everything. It's like asking Donald Trump to name one Bible verse. Well, he's never read the Bible, and he goes, "I love them all." And the guy goes, "Well, just name one verse." That's special. That's kind of personal. I love them all. Old Testament or New Testament. You even knew he was going, hold it, there's two testaments? What's going on here?
Yeah.
What am I going to
How
say?
new is this new one? Has that just come out?
Did that come out when my book came out? And then he goes, they're all the same. I love, it's remarkable how you just can shamelessly lie. And if you have enough people that believe it and you just saturate the market with lies, at some point it's like, it's all good. Nobody cares.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
And are you really qualified to lead people when you can't at least come up with Corinthians from some wedding you've attended? You know that one?
Well, the 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, you obviously know it better than me, but I know it as Corinthians because I've heard it at a billion different weddings.
Exactly. Well, I think it's John 11:35. The verse is Jesus wept. It's the shortest verse in the Bible. Anyone can remember Jesus wept. Trump could have pulled that one out of his ass and people would have gone, well, at least he read it. And now people are going to, I don't know if it's John 11:35. I think it is from back in my Red Rock Bible Camp days. I believe it's John 11:35, but yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Well, now that we've got all that out of the way.
Okay. Yes, we wanted to close the loop on
and we've got, I don't know if you can see the time there. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left, but
okay.
Since we did our last episode, you've worked a few shifts. Did you manage to pull in about 25% tip rate?
Something like that, yes. So where we left off.
Oh, the buffet, right.
Yes, people wondering, do I tip at all or how much do I tip if the waiter really, all he did was refill my water and clear my plate away, maybe brought me a drink.
Too soon. I wasn't done. He cleared my plate away too soon. I wasn't done.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway that I would like for people is to stop thinking of these servers as a representative of the restaurant and instead see them for what they really are: small business people. Their section and the seats in it are their business. And if you see somebody working as a server, it's because they need the money, right? It's not for fun. It's a difficult job. You put up with a lot of BS. It's a hard job. So I'm saying we need to start seeing these people as individual business people, and let's try to be respectful of their business. So that person, let's imagine they have 20 seats in their section. They have to use those seats to make as much money as they can because they're a student or a single parent or something like that. So you're sitting at their table and you are going to the buffet. So you are using up some of their revenue producing space. Let's imagine there's 2 of you at a table for 4 and you both go to the buffet. Well, that person could have 4 people sitting at that table, ordering from the menu, selling them much more, and making much more. So now when you're going to the buffet, you have to remember that business person still has costs associated with your bill. They're still paying tip out. Let's imagine the buffet is $25 and you also had a beer, so your bill is $35 and your friend, same thing, $70, they're paying 8%, so that's $5.60. And you say, well, it was just a buffet, let's not tip at all. We did the work. Well, okay, now that person spent $5.60. Were you respectful to them as a business? Were you respectful to their business? Let's say you tip 10%. Okay, well, they paid 8%. So you gave them 2%. And maybe that's enough at a buffet. But my point is, it's not really the amount. It's that you be aware that this person is trying to earn a living stop thinking of it in terms of the restaurant. Think of it in terms of the individual, and how respectful would you be? Like, oh, let's stick with the buffet thing, and then I'll quit rambling on this because I know you've got thoughts on this. A mom and pop owned buffet restaurant. You go up for the third time and get a heaping pile of chicken balls and macaroni and cheese and 2 pieces of cheesecake. You eat 1 piece of cheesecake and you scrape the rest into the garbage.
Right.
And as you're doing that, you're thinking, oh, that's kind of a dick move. I just wasted all the food for these poor people that own this place. Think those thoughts with regard to your server. Okay, I've used up this person's table. Do I really need to be here for 3 hours? Because I'm diminishing the money they're making by staying. Think of the server as a business person and show that business person respect.
And I'll just, in the last few minutes, I'll just play the devil's advocate.
You bet. I'd expect nothing less.
Certainly, and I owned a restaurant for a year, and my waiting staff averaged 2.5%. That is, by the way, it was in Steinbach, Manitoba. That is a comment on Steinbach, Manitoba, and how cheap everyone there was. So,
okay,
and I'm happy to say that because 2.5% is pretty low.
Very.
But I think that all the stuff you were describing, I don't want to think that much when I go out. I don't want to think about having a relationship and acknowledging the contractor or the small business person or the whatever. I want to go to, if the restaurant is saying I get a buffet for $20, then I want to get a buffet for 20. I mean, would I not tip at all? No, of course I would tip something, but I would just do it because I want to live in a society and I don't want people to go, holy crap, that guy didn't leave anything. But I enter into, when I walk through the doors of mom and pop or whatever, or Earl's or whatever milestones, I enter with I don't enter a relationship with the server. I enter a relationship with the restaurant. And if they say this is how much something costs, then that's how much it costs. If I want to tip, and if the service is crappy, maybe I tip almost nothing. And if I did all the work, maybe you know what? Maybe I tip myself. How do you like that? Maybe I go, hey, I did a pretty good job of cleaning up my dishes. I think I'm going to give myself a little extra $5 today. I'll tip.
Right.
But anyway, I appreciate your thoughts. We've got a minute and a half left, so we've got to wrap things up.
Well, then this brings us full circle to where we started this conversation, that I believe the restaurant, the hospitality industry needs to do a better job of educating the public, because I know there's been people watching these episodes of This Ought to Be Good who are going, I had no idea that the server has to pay no matter what.
Right.
Like, you know, big parties, sometimes the bill comes and it's $500 and they go, oh my God, $500. Well, $50 is still a big tip. No, it isn't. That's 10%, and that person paid 8%. So they served the 6 of you, you ran up a $500 bill and you tipped them 2%. There are people right now going, oh my God, I shafted quite a few servers.
Or they're going, but he still got an hourly wage, so he didn't work for free. I could come back at you all day.
Yeah, yeah. God forbid.
All right.